Good morning, everyone. We have another prompt for Junk Journal January 2024, and that prompt today is throwback. So I tracked and racked my brain like, throwback, what do I want to do for throwback? Well, I thought of a million things, and none of them really seemed appropriate until I remembered I'm going to do more nature this year. So I want to put my book aside for just a moment. And I have these stamps, and I haven't used my these are watercolor stamps. These ones are by, let's see if it has it on it, Penny Black. This one is a Hero Arts, and this little bitty one is another Hero Arts. When I used them before, I used them with my Tombow markers, and they worked beautiful. They were just absolutely stunning. But today I have another tool, a medium that I haven't used in quite a while, and that's my distress crayons. So I thought I would use my crayons to color my stamps with. Now, instead of using an ink pad, and let me just show you what we're going to make, and then I'll tell you how we made it. So this is what I want to recreate today, and that's using this stamp here by Hero Arts. And like I say, they're a watercolor stamp. This one's called Real Fuchsia. And so I want to recreate this for my focal point on my page today. And that is going to be my throwback. So to start with, I'm going to take my stamps, and let's just go ahead and use the Real Fuchsia. Put the other two aside. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose some of my crayons, and I'm going to color directly on my stamp. Now, these distress crayons are water soluble, so they're a watercolor. And you can do this with so many different water-based products. Whatever you have, I would certainly give it a try. Everything's going to give you a different effect. So I did that one in pink, and let's just recreate that one. Actually, I did it in purple. And let's recreate that one. So I used purple and yellow, and then I used a green. Hello, green. Are you hiding from me? Where is my green? Well, that's strange because I just had it. Here we go. I have my colors out that I used. So, silly me. Here's the purple. Here's the yellow, but I'm going to go with the brighter yellow. I'm going to switch that up. And here's the green that I liked right here. So these are the three crayons that I'm going to use. To do this, I'm going to take my purple, and I am going to, this color, does it say the colors on these? Seedless Preserves. I'm going to color, like I said, directly onto my stamp. So I'll color this rubber, and I'm going to put a good amount on there. I'm not going to go light with it. And this is a flower head down here too. And this is a leaf, but a little bit of purple on the leaves is going to be pretty if it shows up. So there I have the purple, and then I want to add a little bit of yellow to that. And since I went with the deeper yellow, we should get a better effect here. And so I'm putting that right over top of the purple. And then I want to add some green to the stems, to the base of the flowers. And then just color all the leaves. Now with the Tombow markers, you have a finer tip. So you can get more detailed with the markers than you can with a crayon. There we go. So that's quite a bit. Let's add a little bit of brown to our leaves also. Just a little bit here and there. I don't want to overdo it. It keeps slipping off. And then for your papers, you know, something like this is watercolored, so it's very muted. So something like this may not show up so well as opposed to just a plain piece of paper. Now here's a plain piece of paper that this was one of the first prints, and then when I did the other stamp, this was the second and the third print. So you can get like 3 prints off them. And then I did some of them also on ledger paper. This was the first print, and then we went from the and on down. This was the fourth one. You can't see it, but these are real faint. They'd be great for collage papers. This is going to be a focal point. That's a nice one. So let me just grab a piece of paper that I want to stamp on. These are some coffee stain papers in varying degrees of how dark they were. To get this effect here, right there, what I did was, this is a coffee stain piece of copy paper, and I took my tea bag when it was wet here, and I just laid it on here to dry. And I didn't set anything on top of it or anything. I just laid it on there, and a day or so later it was dry, and then you have this, and it is so pretty. So I want to stamp on that, and this is just a little bit darker coffee stain. So I have some light, some medium, and some dark. And let's start with this one. I'm going to do the medium because, you know what, I'm going to do the dark because I'm going to get the deepest print first. So I'm going to spritz my stamp lightly with water. The finer mist you have, the better off you'll be. The reason why I wanted to put the first stamp on the darker paper was because I'm going to get the darkest color, which only stands to reason, because you're going to take off most of the color the first time, and then a little bit more color the second time, and then the third time, so on. You get the idea. I want to use this darkest side. So then I'll just take my stamp straight down, and I'll press down on it nice and firm so that I can transfer that color. And there we have a beautiful watercolored flower. There we go. So these stamps are quite old. All my stamps are quite old. If you're looking for what I would call a watercolor stamp, what you want to get is you want to get a stamp that has a lot of rubber on it. If you get a fine line stamp where the whole stamp is just fine lines like this, which is kind of like an outline, you're not going to get this nice of an effect. You want a stamp that is more solid with lots of rubber. Okay, so we're going to set that aside. That'll make a beautiful focal point for something. Now I'm going to take my second one, and I could add a little bit more water if I felt I needed it, which right there, maybe just a little, and maybe down here, very little. And then I want to stamp onto this one, and I think this paper is so pretty here. And let's see what we get. Okay, and then lift it up. And like I say, it's much fainter. You still have a fairly nice image, but it's much fainter. Now with the Tombow markers, you can get two easily. Actually, when I remember when I did it before, I don't have Tombow markers anymore. When I did it before, or I would show you, when I did it before, the first print was too dark for me. So the second and the third was the better ones. With this, with the crayons, the first print is the better. So as you know, since we didn't have a very good print on the second time, we're going to have less of a print on the third time. But it's still not bad. Not bad at all. So I'm going to take my first print, and that's what I'm going to use. Oh, here, I'll just lay them out so you can see them. First, second, and third. Now this one isn't as nice as the third because of the background that it's on. The water from the stamp re-wet this tea here. When that dries, it'll be more like this, and then you'll see the flower up here a little bit better. But there you go. My choice would be the first one on this one. We'll set those aside. They can be used in different places. And then for today, I'm going to use this one. And that's how I created my design, my focal point. But I don't want to really stop there. So let me just take one of these other ones. And I have a script stamp. And I'm going to take some of my, let's do brown, because I think that the green and the purple would be too much. And I just have a script stamp. So I'm going to put a little bit of my crayon over top of that. Give it a little bit of a spritz and then stamp it. How cool is that, guys? Isn't that pretty? Well, as I'm doing this, I'm thinking, why did I ever stop doing this? I knew I loved it when I did it before, and that was years and years ago that I've used these stamps. But there we go. So that's going to be a really pretty addition to something. I want to take this now, and I'm not going to re-wet it or ink it. I might be making a mistake because I really like that one. But I'm going to add some of my script to my background here. Oh yeah, it's fine. So that's a way to get like some very random print from a stamp onto your page. Because as you see, I mean, it's just really like marks. It's like mark making. So there we go. That does that. I want to now take, and I'm going to tear around where this is. And the way I created this, remember, is by putting tea bag on here. Actually, what I put on this was, I've got flowering tea bulbs for Christmas. And those flowering tea, the only thing I can think of to call them are bulbs. You put in water. What it is, it's a clump of a dried flower. You put it in your teapot with your boiling water, and it opens up to reveal the flower. It just opens right up. So when I was done steeping my tea, I took that out of my pot and I put it on this paper, and that's how I got such a big area. So anyhow, I want to take and I want to tear around this and just randomly take some of this paper off. It doesn't have to be every edge. There can be some straight edges on here too. Sammy's in the background crying. I'm not sure if you can hear her or not, but she's not real happy with me because I'm not letting her run outside at the moment. It's morning time here, and she just loves to run in the morning, but I had work to do. She just doesn't understand this work to do business. So then I'm going to take my vintage photo distress oxide ink, and I'm going to ink up around the edges of this, and then this is going to be the focal point for my page, and it's going to fulfill my prompt of throwback. So there we go. So I have these other papers that I'm going to incorporate also into my layout for my collage, and I may as well go ahead and ink them up also. Some of this, sometimes I have this done ahead of time, and this time I didn't. I was just so excited to play with my stamps and my distress crayons. And I'm falling back in love with this. I'm thinking, you know, maybe you really need to replace your Tombow markers. Yeah, I like them better with the Tombow markers, but the distress crayons did a wonderful job also. So we'll just put these back away for the moment. I can see myself sitting some night in front of a movie on Netflix or some afternoon or whatever, and having all of my watercolor stamps out, and I just have them in flowers, and coloring away, making a whole bunch of these. There we go. So, all right, so back to our journal. We are going to, let's see, so far I'm working in line with the pages, but we're going to work on these two pages, the back side of this one and this. And this paper is from an architect. It's from an architect where he was drawing his designs for whatever project it was that he happened to have been doing that day. So I'll need my two pieces of paper to protect what's underneath. I'll put that one here. I don't know, this one with all the color, I think on the video is a bit distracting. So I think I'm gonna take that and try to find a white one. Just under my counter here, my desk, I have scraps paper pile that I use just for this. That's better. That's much better. Thought that was a little distracting yesterday. So I think what I want to do first is do the edges of my pages. And here we have a page tab on the back of this one from yesterday, if you remember, if you've seen that video. If not, I have a playlist down below where you can check my videos out. If you've fallen behind or just found me even, there we go. So to do this, I am going to collage some papers on here, and I've already picked out my papers. And it's just plain paper on plain paper, so I feel comfortable with using the Yoo-Hoo stick. Now, when I get down to having a little bit more, actually, do I want to add some machine stitches? Do you see how fast my mind goes from one thing to the other? It's like, okay, this is what I want to do. Well, wait a minute. Maybe that's not what I want to do, you know, and yeah, oh well, I'm sure your mind works the same way too. So I'm thinking that I might want to add some hand stitching to this one, or some machine stitching. And so maybe I need to put my collage together first. So we'll put some glue on the back of this. I really like the effect of this technique, this throwback technique, on this coffee stained paper. That just looks so, so nice. So I'm thankful to Meg and the Get Messy crew for the prompt of throwback today. It made me think of outside the box of what I normally do, and to do something different, right? Here's just a little piece of paper I wanted to add in here. And I think I'll add it down here like this. Just gives a little bit of color to that. All right, like that. So it's kind of like building a big cluster that you could use for, that didn't want to stick to that paper. That paper, this paper is my cleanup paper that is on my desk, and what it is butcher paper. Now it's not freezer paper, it doesn't have a plastic coating, it's just butcher paper. They use it for lining boxes and what have you. Anyhow, sometimes they don't want to stick to each other very well. So there we have that. And then I had a piece of green I wanted to add. Let's see. If this is going to go up here like this, so I do want some of this architecture stuff to show through. We can glue this down like right here. I'm kind of staggering my layers, if you can see that. And then I had a piece of fabric. I don't want to go too much. And then a little tea bag, piece of a tea bag is all it is. And then I have some lace. Now this lace is gathered lace like this. I don't like that. I like a flat lace when I'm working in my journals. So I will just take my scissors, and you can see that it's gathered here. And I can just cut this off the top like this and turn this into a piece of flat lace. Now, not only does it take away the gathering, but it makes our piece of lace pretty rough because it kind of tears, and you know what? That's a good effect to have in our junk journals, right? Now this can be saved to be used somewhere else. And then I have, and as you can see, the edge of that is really kind of rough now, and I like that better. But anyhow, that's what I'm using for lace on here. And I'm just going to use like a piece of it, and it'll go like right here. And then I have a label, and I think they're from My Porch Prints, that I want to add to the bottom of this. I want to do a little bit of stitching here, hand stitching here, slow stitching, whatever you want to call it. And we'll just put some glue on the back just to hold these things in place. And then on the tea bag, get our layers here. And she's going back and forth, back and forth. I'm going to have to take a break, and I'm going to have to let Miss Sammy out. And while I'm taking the break, I will go ahead and get my stitching done here. Maybe in another video, I'll show you my hand stitching, but it's pretty straightforward and easy to do. It's nothing complicated. I guess this is not really a technique to show you how to do slow stitching. It's to do the flowers technique video. So there I have what I want made. Now this could be beautiful on the front of a journal also. It doesn't have to be just like on a page. It can also be, and maybe I'll do that. It can be a tuck spot or a pocket if I left it open here. So let me see what I do after I get Sammy out and make her happy. And then I have some papers over here to finish off this page, so I'll be right back. All right, I have my stitching done on this panel that I have made, and I do want to make it into a tuck spot. So I'm going to take my tacky glue, and first off, I'll show you my stitching. I did 3 French knots here, and then just a row of straight stitching up through here. Now I'm going to take my tacky glue, and I'm going to go down the side, the long side, and across the bottom, and glue that onto my page, just like this. And that's going to create a nice little tuck spot that I can add a piece of paper or a tag, whatever I should decide to put in there. Now we want to go to the other side of our page over here. I can't just leave this one plain next to this. We have to do something. I have a piece of, quarter of a piece of memorandum United States government paper, and I will rip that down to size. What's pretty cool about this is that it's naturally stained this color. So that is pretty cool. And then what I want to do then is just take my Distress Oxide and go around the outside of it. And this is going to be my journaling spot here. This and whatever I decide to put in this tuck spot over here. So I have that, and I could leave it like that and just journal on it and not add anything more, but that's really not me. So I'm going to take a piece of this paper to bring this side together with this side. I'll put a little bit of glue on it, a little bit of Yoo-hoo glue stick. Just put that down along the edge here. And then I have all of the same elements that I added in this little cluster here. And I'll see how much I want to go with it. I do want to add that. So these are just some pieces of paper that I have laying on my desk that are from other projects and what have you. Then a piece of tea bag and a little strip of fabric, I guess, and a little strip of lace. Okay, now I'm going to take my needle and thread, and I've decided to use brown thread. What I'm using to do my stitching with is some brown embroidery floss, and I split it into 3 ply. And then I'm just going to do, I think, a straight stitch up through here. I have this little foam, I don't know what it is, where I got it. It's pretty well used. And I pre-do my holes. I can get a more even stitch that way and a straighter stitch that way. Otherwise, I tend to get pretty wonky. And now if wonky is what I wanted, that would be okay, but it's not always what I want. And I think I'm not going to go the whole way on this. And then I will just do some straight stitching up through here. Find my holes. There we go. It's hard to see through the lace. Up here so you can see a little. This just adds a little bit of nice texture to it, a little bit more to our design. The finishing touches sometimes are the most important, I feel. These were some pretty long stitches. I didn't realize when I was making them that I made them that long. I guess it doesn't matter, right? And then I'll finish it off with a knot in the back. There we go. So that brings elements from this side over to this side and leaves me a really nice little space for journaling. And I'll glue that down with some tacky glue. And there we have our project for Junk Journal January, day number 3 completed. Let's take our papers out. Get some stuff cleared out of the way so it's not distracting for us. Let's see what we have here. So we have this little page here. And then our prompt filled over here with our throwback, with our stamp and our distress crayons to make a watercolored focal point. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you are enjoying Junk Journal January and playing along. If you haven't decided to put both feet in the water and give it a try, then it's time to do that. Get your journal out and let's get busy. Guys, have a great day. We shall see you again soon. Bye now.